Do I have the answers? I wish I could tell you that. But there are ways of dealing with this challenge. I think the first thing we have to do is face reality. This is going on, and we can say, well, you know, the economic indicators, things are going to get better, and so forth. This has been a long-term trend, and I don't think it just depends on the economy. We need to face the reality. The second thing is, we don't have to go it alone. This is not an AOPA problem. It's not a Cessna problem, a Hawker Beechcraft. It's all of us collectively. None of us have the resources to be able to deal with this individually, and collectively, I think we're all smarter than we are individually. So we need to work together. We need to look for the root cause, okay? Time, money, yeah, that's pretty obvious, but are there other things that are causing this problem? We should think about that and make sure that we're right on target in terms of how we choose to address it. The long haul. One of the challenges that all companies face is the attention span of a nanosecond. And we see short-term focus, and short-term focus, we've seen it across our economy. Everybody wants to know what you've done for me tomorrow. We can't solve long-term problems with short-term thinking. So can we say, you know, 2 years from now, this is going to be better? I don't think so. I think we have to take a longer-term approach. That doesn't mean that you're not accountable for the things that you do, but you do have to say that you're going to stay the course for a while. Never waste a good crisis. That inspires people to move, and we can do things. And I think if you're not feeling a sense of urgency, you probably need to look around and see what's going on in our industry, and hopefully that encourages you to feel a sense of urgency. So are we in crisis? Maybe not quite yet, but we're getting real close. And the last thing I would say, and I think those in the business aircraft community know this very well, is you need to go on the offensive. When things aren't working too well, you just don't lay back. It's time to get out ahead of this thing. AOPA, the AOPA Foundation, and so forth, is going to be studying this, doing some research, but we're going to move beyond the study phase very, very quickly because this stuff has been studied to death. It's time to start taking some action. And we're going to ask you folks, either individually or collectively, to help us in terms of the thought process, where we need to go. And I would hope that by the end of this summer, we're going to have a pretty good idea of some of the things that need to be done and do some real-world experimentation. We're going to ask for your help. I am out of airspeed, altitude, and ideas at this point, so I will now take any questions you might have and reserve the right to plead ignorance because I've only been in the job for 3 days. So, thank you. That was polite. Now, do we have any questions? Yes, ma'am. Sport Pilot, great question. I think Sport Pilot has tremendous potential. Why? Because we cut the time to learn in half. Does anybody get through in 20 hours? Well, that's the minimum. A few people might, some of these smart young folks at this table might, but a lot of us older folks may not. But I think it's got tremendous potential. Cessna is, of course, going to be a big player, and I understand you're taking delivery of a Skycatcher here shortly, Bob?
Next week. Yeah.
Next week. I think there's tremendous potential there, and I mentioned to the table here earlier, I was at Friedrichshafen, the Germany Air Show. There's a whole lot of excitement with those aircraft. It will help us to solve some of the economic issues early on. Also, the complexity. The airplanes are much, much simpler. Our airplanes, we start off thinking that everybody has to learn how to fly cockpit instrumentation for an airliner. Well, maybe ultimately you do, but it doesn't have to be that complicated, and we got to get them hooked. Then we can go ahead and upsell them, right? Excellent question. Thank you.
Well, we have to, you know, indulge in a tradition that we have started here, and that is to give you the monthly clock.
Meaning it's later than I think.
Oh yeah, yeah. This is not the debt clock. You know, it's not like it's running out or anything. every month we give a clock to commemorate your speaking to the Wichita Aero Club. You can put that on your wall. It says that you spoke here today, May 25th, 2010, and we thank you very much for being with us today, Bruce. And it's always good to see you. And maybe you can come back and finish up teaching me to fly. That would be a real challenge.